Okay, let's start our second lecture and welcome everybody back for the second one. So, and sorry for the delay also. So we like to continue our discussion from the last lecture about ADA safety and finish up it here by today's lecture. And hopefully from tomorrow's lecture, I will actually give you some background about quantum information in context of ADA safety, and then we can jumpstart to computing complexity in quantum field theory that I promised. We're a little bit behind the schedule, but I think from next class we can start doing that, exploring QFT and exploring complexity in the context of QFT. So, but let's finish up the discussion about ADA safety. I hope after today's class you get a generic feeling. Of course, I'm skipping many details. It is not possible to give you all the details, but I think my lecture notes will be uploaded soon. You can go through it and also look at the references. Okay, so without wasting more time, let's start. So let us remind what we have done quickly in the last class. And so we have written down the basic statement of ADA safety, which says that relativistic gravitational theory living on anti-de Sitter space, say in D+1 dimension, is dynamically equivalent to a certain type of conformal field theory. We will discuss little bit about conformal field theory today. So it's a strongly coupled conformal field theory. Shorthand I will write just CFTs in D dimension, living at the boundary of this ADS. So we have discussed that ADS has a conformal boundary, and we will also see that in choice of particle, we will write down explicitly some coordinate system and we'll see explicitly what these boundaries looks like. At least one case explicitly, and another case we should go back and check. We will just write down the expression. Living at the boundary of ADS. ADS D plus. Okay. And more precisely, in terms of the partition function or the generating functional, this can be formulated in the following way, which is Z gravity which you can write the generating functional from the ADS side. So there can be metric fluctuation, h mu nu, graviton, gauge field, many other things in the bulk. So we have to construct a path integral for all of them by exponentiating the on-shell gravitational action evaluated on the background of ADS D+1. So remember this, we have to evaluate the gravity part on shell. So you have write down the Einstein action plus all the matter field, solve the equation of motion of this matter field, graviton, etc. on the ADS background. Put the solution back in the equation in this action. So basically we are doing a saddle point approximation, and we take the dominant saddle depending on the situation, and that gives rise to the gravity partition functions. So this is the on-shell. And remember that on the gravity side, it is weakly coupled gravity theory. G Newton is very small, and also the gravity that we have a geometry, right? So it only emerges in some semi-classical limit from. If you wonder, there is a DUV quantum theory which is You may assume there is a string theory, so-called, and the geometry description only emerge in the semi-classical. Otherwise, we don't have geometric description. So this side is a semi-classical limit where we have a metric. We can write down a metric, and we have a weakly coupled gravity, which is equivalent to the fact that this is equal to the CFT generating function, which lives at the boundary of the ADS. CFT generating functional, again, you can write there is some sort of field. Basically, mostly you can think that it can be a composite operator, whatever be it. So you can write this. This is the usual generating functional that you may or may not familiar with from quantum field theory. And once you know this, these OIs are the fields and they are coupled with the corresponding source JI. So once if you want to compute the endpoint correlation function, you just take this generating functional, derivative n times with respect to j, set j equal to 0, that gives you the endpoint correlation function. That you do in quantum field theory. But if you are not familiar with, don't worry, this is what it is, basically. And of course, we will see that these JIs is related to this. We have to make a matching condition because these two partition functions are we claim to be same. So this the source in the CFT side gets identified with the boundary value of the bulk field. So we have this bulk field. We take their boundary value, and that is identified with the source. Of course, I am not able to, given this time constant, I will not able to work out the explicit example, but you can look it at my notes to see how these things actually work. At least I have given a scalar field example, which usually people give. This is a very good example to point out all the things in how this duality or this conjecture works in principle. So this J basically are at 0 equal to 0, at z equal, sorry, as z are basically the boundary value of bulk. I will make it a little bit more precise by today's lecture. Okay, and then of course, now we will actually discuss two aspects of this duality, which will help you to understand better. One is the symmetry aspect or the kinematical aspect of this duality, which will say that symmetry group or the isometry group of the ADS space is same as the conformal group in one less dimension. And also we will say that all the operators in the bulk, defined in the bulk ADS spacetime, get mapped to the operators in the CFT. That is the dynamical state. So let's understand these two statements, and then after that, I think we'll get the basic essence of ADS safety. So before that, we have actually also discussed the ADS space a little bit. So ADS space is a maximally symmetric solution of Einstein equation with a negative cosmological constant. So let's say ADS d plus 1. So it satisfies the vacuum Einstein equation with a cosmological constant. Lambda is a cosmological constant, to say d into L square is the ADS radius, and you can it has, I will show that d into d plus 1 by 2, sorry, ADS d plus 1 will have d plus 1 times plus 2 number of Killing vectors. Killing vectors are the vectors which generate the isometries, that is, which generate those particular transformations which keeps the metric invariant, the symmetry generated. Okay. And maximally symmetric space has this number of Killing vectors usually. Okay, and we have also seen that this ADS space, to visualize this ADS space, one can go to a embedding space where we can write down it's like a Minkowski space, but with a 2-time signature. So we have our d comma 2 with a metric which is diagonal, but with +1, -1, and then it's a +1, then again. So it has d positive entry and 2 minus, almost Minkowski space, but 2 negative time direction. So we can write down this metric on this like this. Okay. And now ADS is defined as a hypersurface. ADS d+1 is defined as a hypersurface in this d+2 dimensional metric. Basically, we are embedding the metric in one higher dimension. So ADS is defined as a hyper surface, which is when xn x0 square xd +1 whole square, which is equal to minus L square, and this L is the ADS radius. So this is the defining condition, hypersurface condition. So you can see that you can roughly view this ADS as a hyperboloid, but I should caution you again that it is not exactly a hyperboloid because the causal structures are different. But roughly you can think it's like a hyperboloid in some choice of coordinate systems. And of course, if you look at the left-hand side of this equation, this is almost like a distance in this invariant, this squared thing is like a almost like in the Minkowski space, but with a 2 negative sign. That is how we define the embedding coordinate, and this can be has a symmetry. Okay, so do d comma 2. So you know Minkowski space has a d comma 1 because it has all the boost, we collect all the boost, all the transformation, all the translations, space rotation, that gives you SO d comma 1. And just here is one more time direction, so it has a SO d comma here. So EDS has a SO d comma 2 symmetric group under which transformation, under the transformation of SO d comma 2, ADS matrix remains invariant. This is the statement. And we have also seen that ADS has a conformal boundary actually. So sorry, and for large x, this xi xs this coordinate, and for fixed L, we have this. So this is nothing but the light cone in the R d comma 2 space. So of all the lines originating from 0 of the origin of the R d comma 2, which lies on this surface, it generates the boundary of the universe. Then we will see now explicitly what it is. It defines boundary. Of course, as I say that it should be like a conformal boundary, strictly speaking, it's not actually a physical boundary. This was one of the confusion among some of the students. This is not a physical boundary. This goes all the coordinate goes to plus to minus infinity. So this is a non-compact space. This is not a finite like a sphere. This is not a physical boundary of the space, but this is a conformal boundary. It's like the, roughly speaking, it's like the Minkowski space-time, where you can do a conformal transformations and map all the infinities to a finite points on picture that is called a Penrose diagram, and from that you can actually identify these boundaries, these so-called conformal boundaries. So remember, this is not a physical boundary, but I will often neglect this term conformal, just call it a boundary. So let's make it a little bit more explicit. So we are working in embedding coordinates. So let's choose some parameterization for this set of coordinate x's, or this set of coordinate, and write down. Then we'll get ADS. Basically, ADS is defined by this kind of a hyperboloid. So if we choose different parameterization for this x, capital X's, that will give you some different choice of coordinate systems for ADS metric, which will cover some, which may or may not cover the entire hyperbola. But from the working point of view, we need an explicit coordinate systems to do the calculation. So let's write down one such coordinate system explicit, and let's see. Okay, so the most common one, and not at least from my point of view, which is easy to use, is the Poincare coordinate. So how this is defined, Poincare coordinate? So let's choose the following parameterization: H0. So I may sometimes set L equal to 1, the ADS radius 1. This is the usual convention. You can always set it, like setting H bar C and G equal to 1. This is Boltzmann constant also 1, L equal to 1. But I may set it 1, just from my natural habit. But on the dimensional ground, you can always insert this factor L in the appropriate position. Where to the power 4. T plus L square, and x I is equal to. So this x vector is basically xi square, and for where I goes to 1 to d minus 1, basically. Small xi's have d minus to d minus. Then x of d square by 2r 1 plus r square by L to the power 4 x square minus t square minus L square makes t plus 1 dy. Now remember that here r is always greater than 0. So it only covers half of the original ADS space. If you choose this particular set of parameterization, it will cover only half of the hyperbola. So you need 2 Poincare coordinate system to cover all the hyperbola, all the patch. So let's write down the metric explicitly. ds square is equal to L square by r square, dr square, r square by L square minus dt square plus dxi square. Dxi, I mean, this I goes from a little bit bad notation. Let me write it in terms of, and this I goes from, this is the in d minus 1 x, there is a d minus 1. So this is the most often the coordinate system that we're going to use. I may sometimes set L equal to 0, L equal to 1, sorry. And one other coordinate system that one can write down is R is 1 over Z. Basically. So in that coordinate systems, it will look like this: minus d dz square minus dt square plus dx square by z square. So this is many times, just for its simplicity, we use this coordinate system. Okay. Now we can identify the boundary of this metric, which is nothing but r tends to infinity, that is in terms of the z coordinate, 0 is the boundary. So you can check that if you put this, take this limit, of course you cannot directly put r tends to infinity or z equal to 0. You can put this limit, you can see that in terms of the embedding coordinate, you get the boundary, you get all the lines which falls on the light cone of RD, you can check it explicitly. You can check that in terms of embedding coordinate, this relation is satisfied using these parameterizations. So let's draw. So and you can see that for each constant r, if you take constant r slice of this, okay, constant r slice. So if dr square vanishes and there is this overall factor of constant, then it's just like a Minkowski spacetime, right? So constant sections of this is just a Minkowski spacetime. So if you put r equal to infinity, take the boundary limit, you cannot take r equal to infinity, but you put some r equal to some capital lambda and take boundary limit and take the capital lambda very large, then you will see the boundary is nothing but a flat Minkowski space. Okay. Each r equal to constant size, say our Minkowski spacetime. So the boundary of this areas, the topology of the boundary areas is just like a flat Minkowski spacetime. And this is very interesting. And the boundary is flat spacetime, Minkowski spacetime. So you can draw this cartoon. So these are each sections of r constant slices. R equal to infinity is the boundary, is the flat space. Then you have, for every slice, you have some r and then goes up. And so metric start from r greater than 0, goes up to r equal to infinity. And r equal to 0 is a so-called, we call it a killing horizon. If you put r equal to 0 in this metric, we'll say there is an apparent coordinate singularity, just like what you have seen r equal to 2gm. When you are discussing Schwarzschild black, there is a coordinate singularity. It's an artifact of choosing the coordinate systems, mind it. Like r equal to 2gm singularity in the Schwarzschild black hole, it's like r equal to 0 is something called a killing horizon of this Poincare metric, Poincare ADS metric written in Poincare code. But this just a no. Isn't the whole metric conformally? No. Look at this. Wow. There is this factor. How you do this?
No, I mean we have 1 by z square, and then we have this Minkowski kind of metric, right?
But z is a coordinate.
Yeah, but I'm saying conformally.
I still don't understand. So conform. So what you are saying? This ds dt dz square. So each z slice, each z constant z slice, it is indeed a yeah, it is indeed a flat metric. So you patch the flat metric and for every z equal to z slice basically. So
No,
this is not conformally. So what you mean probably you will say that then the structure properties of this color structure should be same as the Minkowski metric because it's conformal. No, actually no. The answer is no. So you can show that r equal to 0, there is a Killing horizon, and one of the isometry generator of the ADS, the norm of the isometry generator vanishes, r equal to 0. And also, if you look at this metric carefully, particularly in this coordinate, whatever r or z, whatever be it. So you can see that I told you that there is a SOD, 2 isometry of this symmetry of this ADS. If you look at it, you know that this flat portion remains invariant under SOD, 1 because this is just a flat Minkowski spacetime. Okay. So the point is that from this metric, there is a particular subgroup of SOD, 2 is manifest. So you can see this part is clearly, it's just Minkowski space, it is invariant under SOD, 2. So in fact, you can show that the following subgroup SOD, 2 and SO1, 1, this symmetry group is actually manifest. But what is this? This is, we know, the Poincare group in D dimension. D dimension. But so again the same question, but when the matrix is written ds square and the dz square, isn't it that conformal with Minkowski? So each slice, for each constant slice, it is indeed minus dt square plus dx square, but each slice is minus dt square plus dx square for each constant slice. Indeed, this is Minkowski times overall factor. You can say there is a overall conformal factor, but the full space time, this is the ADS. This is a ADS in a particular coordinate system. So the structure, the causal structure will be quite different from the Minkowski spacetime. I think one should appreciate that because z varies, but each constant slice indeed. So if you put z equal to some constant, you will have L square by z some constant square overall conformal factor times minus dt square plus dx square. And this minus dt square dx square is the basically, if this z is large, 0 is the boundary in terms of z, this is the boundary. So if this z goes to 0, then this minus dt square plus dx square is basically a flat Minkowski spacetime. But there will be but in general there is a overall with the overall rescaling factor, what you call a conformal factor, whatever. So now what is S? No, but then it's trivial again. But the Penrose diagram will be same, then again, but this is common sense, right? Because ADS spacetime, if you say that that is precisely, I say that it is not equivalent. If it is same, then you don't do anything actually. You need one difference is there, of course, one difference is there, and other difference is that this is this dz square. So what so why when you do a conformal transformations and draw these kind of a Penrose diagram, blah blah blah, if you really would have known that what is so let me then take a detour. So when you say that you drew conformal diagram and then you say the causal structure of spacetime, so why it gives the causal structure of spacetime? Why it gives the causal structure of spacetime? Because conformal transformations, that particular conformal transformations that you do keeps, first of all, the topological properties of the spacetime fixed, also the null geodesics fixed, basically, in terms of this 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 coordinate in terms of this coordinate transformation. That is why you get boundary, but you can try with that and show that whether it's true or not. Of course it is not true. And more importantly, remember, more importantly, that's a flat spacetime. There is a non-trivial vanishing curvature. Many things are different actually. But indeed, z equal to constant slices. Indeed, that is a slice. That is a Minkowski space times the overall factor. That is indeed true. So now coming back to it. So what is the SO 1,1? So this is nothing but the scaling. So you can show that if you look at this metric, and you can show that if you transform R by lambda times R, and xi by lambda, some scaling, lambda is some constant. Lambda is some constant. And you can see that metric remains invariant. So if you appropriately scale R and X coordinate, this will keep the metric invariant. And this generate the scale transformations. And this is precisely the SO 1,1 subgroup of the full symmetric. So this scaling and Poincare invariance is manifest in this coordinate systems, basically, if you use Poincare coordinate system. Okay. So one more point is that sometimes, and not sometimes, most often, we need to compute Euclidean partition function where we actually complexify the time direction. So t goes to some Euclidean time, it, and then we need to use the Euclidean version of this ADS. Euclidean ADS. Okay. So basically, we do a weak rotation in the time direction, and for the Poincare metric, it will simply give you L square by R square, dr square. So you will see that many calculation we end up of using this kind of a Euclideanized ADS because we need the Euclidean version of the path.
Excuse me, Professor.
Yeah.
So I have a small doubt.
Yep.
So my question is, can we span the entire space-time by taking R equal to constant slices? I mean, you take R equal to 0,
no,
R equal to 1.
It doesn't cover the hyperbola. So you need two patches. If you are asking that, the original hyperbola is not covered entirely by the one Poincare patch. So you need two Poincare patch to cover entire hyperboloid.
Okay. So let's consider the one half only. So now you take R equal to 0, R equal to 1, you go up to R equal to infinity, right? So
greater than 0 or equal to infinity, and then there is a mirror image of that other half.
Yes, true. So, but each slice is basically a Minkowski space-time, right? So basically,
Size of these are equal to sizes of Minkowski spacetime. That is why the boundary, and as I said, the boundary of this ADS written in the Poincare coordinate is of just a flat Minkowski spacetime. Boundary. And
yes, so
each slice also, but there is a overall conformal factor which is also important. Each slice.
okay, so you have a Minkowski slice at r equal to 0, at r equal to 1, at every r equal to constant line. So when you add them up, so, you basically get a flat space-time, right? So
Why?
I don't understand
Why?
where I'm.
Because R is a changing direction. Come on, means this is a non-trivial dependence of R. If you can just look at this metric, do you think that if you add them up, this is going, the curvature going to be non-zero? Because there is a non-trivial coordinate here, Z. Can you see? So what is called flat space-time? Any coordinate system curvature should be zero. Do you think that this curvature going to be non-zero here? This entire discussion is a little bit useless, right? Because it is coming from the, it is should be describing a ADS spacetime which is a maximally symmetric. Calculate the curvature of this metric. You think that this is zero, going to zero? Because
no,
there is a
it won't be
non-trivial
zero, right?
dependence. You have to take derivative with respect to Z, right? In the when
Yes.
you calculate metric, do you think that will and you are not so lucky that all the derivative etc. cancels, it will be zero. Otherwise, if you think so, say what you are saying, if that is happen, then I think whatever we discussed is actually very trivial so far. Yeah, no,
Right.
so, I think we can pack up if that is true. Compute it. Actually, you should compute it. If you are asking, you should compute it, the curvature. That's itself a good exercise. Exercise to do that. Exercise to do that. Okay, so I think good. So and so there is another choice which is so-called the global coordinate. I will not, given the interest of time, I think I will not. You check it what it is actually. It will find in my note. I will leave it as like a sort of a homework. And indeed, why global? Because it covers the entire hyperbola, this coordinate system. So check it. So in my note, also you can find. You can find in any of the area safety review that I shared, but do it. I will skip this part actually. Okay. So let's come to the important point actually. So what is called the statement of symmetry. Actually, another exercise you should do, because you guys are asking these questions to clear your doubt. You should first write the global coordinate, draw what it is. You will, or you can find it everywhere. And on top of the, because it covers the entire hyperbola, on top of it, try to draw the Minkowski, the ADS Minkowski, this ADS in the Poincare patch, and you will see how much portion is covered or not. It's a good exercise to do actually. So if you are interested, you should do that. It is there already in the book, already in the thing is mentioned, but you should do. Then you will realize that if you have a global hyperbola, what is the patch is covered and how much you require to, you need the another half of Minkowski, Poincare patch to cover the entire hyperbola. This is a very good exercise. You can plot it in Mathematica, and if you are interested, you should. I encourage you to do that. The hint is there in my note. So what is the statement? So okay, so let's continue. So what is the statement of symmetry? So isometry of ADS D plus 1, isometry group rather, is equal to the conformal symmetric group in a D dimension. So what is the isometries? Isometry, so-called the isometry. So first you have to solve this killing vector. So if some of you are not familiar with that, just to let you know that first consider infinitesimal transformations of the coordinate. Xi mu is so-called the killing vectors which generate the infinitesimal transformations. And if this is a symmetry of the underlying metric, then the Lie derivative with respect to this vector xi, killing vector of the metric, mu is 0. And this is gives this xi is so-called the killing vector. So this is the vector field along which the metric flows. It remains invariant. That is the physical picture of the Lie derivative. If you don't know, you don't have to bother about it. I will write down equation. So basically this condition, this Lie derivative of g mu equal to 0, this gives you an equation to solve for this vector xi mu, which is this. So this is something called a killing vector equation. So if you solve this equation, you will find all the killing vectors, and that will give you all the possible infinitesimal transformations that will keep the metric invariant, and that constitute the isometries of the idea. And you can find the algebra of the transformations that gives you the SO D, 2 group. And also by exponentiating this infinitesimal transformation, you can also find the finite transformation. If this last sentence doesn't mean anything to you, you can ignore it, or you can look up it. Not important. So the thing is that, let me also write down the algebra that is the generators, the algebra, just of isometry generators for say ADS D plus 1, and we can Euclideanize it for simplicity matter. So I will be careful with the index. There are a lot of indices actually. So hopefully I'm right. But you will find this, I think, the more tidier version in the and what is the zeta IB? IB that diagonal metric with minus 1, 1, 1, 1. It's like a Minkowski metric, but a diagonal entry with a entry with basically it has D plus 2 entry basically. And this A and B index run from 0, 1, 2, etc. to D plus 1. So you can count the generator, which is actually, if you count this number of these JABs, you can count and you can see that this match with the number of generators that I initially claimed. And this algebra that I've written is nothing but algebra of SO D plus 1, D plus 1 comma 1, which is the algebra of the Euclideanized conformal group. So if you don't Euclideanize, you would have get SOT command. That's the difference. So one exercise is that take ADS4. Take example of ADS4 and calculate the generator. This is explicitly done in my notes, but first you should try, because this will give you a handle of solving the Killing equation, which is a differential equation, and you can find and try to see that the Killing vectors that generate this transformation satisfy this algebra. That is here. This you can take it as a homework. You will see there are 10 generators of ADS4. You can take the Poincare coordinate because solving it easier, and show that they indeed satisfy SO d comma 2 or d plus 1 comma 1. Now the thing is that each of these generators, each of the AD generators, each of the generators, the symmetry generators of ADS d plus 1, if you put the boundary limit, take the boundary limit on this generator, has 1-to-1 correspondence with the conformal generators of CF. So you can identify, make an explicit identification, which generator in ADS corresponds to which generator in conformal, and so on. So let me elaborate on this to make it more precise what I meant by this. So before that, let me talk about this conformal group. So we know that under the isometry, usually what we say, metric remains in there. This is just the usual isometry. But under conformal transformations, metric doesn't exactly remain same, but it's same up to a overall scale factor, which is to say the metric component, if we write GAB equal to some scale factor HX GAB 10. That's so you can see it does not preserve the length, but it preserves the angle between two vectors. This is one of the features of conformal transform. Now, if you look at the infinitesimal transformations, again I write, and this Xi denotes generate the infinitesimal conformal transformation, and we call this a conformal Killing vector. And you know from your GR that the metric under a change of coordinate systems transform this way. Okay. But now we know that under conformal transformation, G bar should be some factor times GAB. And if you use this relation carefully, invert this, then from this side, we'll get the following. GAB plus KLA IB. Typically, we work in flat spacetime, so we have a del. If you have a curved spacetime, you can generalize this relation to these dels replaced by the nabla. But our CFT, at least in the Poincare system, lives on a flat spacetime, so we are considering the CFT on a flat space. So there is a del. We don't require to distinguish between covariant and the partial derivative. And if you simplify this, rearrange this, let me write that space. Okay. And if you take trace of both sides, trace of this equation, both sides, taking trace, we can see that get this. I'm skipping some algebra, but you should be able to. And then finally, GAB is basically flat metric. So you can see you have to solve for the conformal Killing equation instead of the Killing equation, where the right hand side is typically 0, to find the conformal transformations. And basically, if you solve this equation, you can find all the necessary conformal transformations. Of course, there is subtlety at d equal to 2. We will get infinite number of solutions, but we are not going to discuss that. Let's consider d greater than 2 CFTs. So you will solve this equation, you get all the necessary global conformal transformations. And let me list them down. Transformations. Infinite small version, basically d spacetime. D typically greater than 1 is translation, usual translation. Of course, the usual Poincare group is inbuilt in the Poincare transformation, which basically translate the X. And we call this generator the translation generator, PV. We have Lorentz transformations. If you are working in a Minkowski space, of course, if you Euclideanize, there will be no distinction between Lorentz transformation and rotation. Everything is rotation. But this Lorentz transformation, Minkowski space, and with the gamma mu nu is the omega, this factor is antisymmetric. So the coordinate change by this rotation is antisymmetric. Lorentz transformation, I mean boost plus the rotation. So they are antisymmetric transformation. This is from the usual. But the non-trivial one is something called the dilatation, which actually scale the coordinate. And you see, this is the extra ingredient called scaling by a constant amount. And there is one more extra, something called a spatial conformal transformations, which actually change the coordinate in the following way. P denoted by this. So this is actually non-trivial, and one can show, actually, I will not going to show, this special conformal transformation is nothing but a combination of inversion of the coordinate, then translation, and then again an inversion. So inversion, so the new coordinate system looks like this. X. Inversion means, first of all, you change invert. So x to xa by x squared, then translate, then invert again. So this dilatation and the special conformal transformation is something new in the conformal group. And what are the conformal field theories? You may have encountered done usual quantum field theories, which is invariant under the Poincare transformations usually. And conformal field theories are field theories which is not only invariant under this Poincare group, but also invariant under the scale transformations and the special conformal transformations. Loosely speaking, when we say that it is invariant under scale transformations, because usually it is most of the theory which are actually unitary quantum field theory, which are scale transformations, are automatically invariant under the special conformal, full conformal invariant under full conformal. Although for d greater than 3 there is no proof, but we don't have any counter example either. And if you look at the algebra of this set of generators, you can find that first of all you can count the number of generators. So there are d number of p mu, d number of k mu. Then there is a antisymmetric, so it is d into d minus 1 by 2 number of j mu nu, and then one capital D. So if you add them, you will see this is the same number of generator at the corresponding ADS d plus 1 isometric generator. And the algebra, which I will not going to write, is the same as what I have write, the SO d comma 2 or d plus 1 comma 1, if you really understand. So the thing is that each of the isometric generator, which solved by solving Killing equation in the ADS, is one-to-one correspondence with the conformal Killing generators of the CFT that is living at the boundary. And this conformal Killing generator is solved by solving a conformal Killing vector equation with the right hand side non-zero on a flat space usually. Okay. So this is the statement of the symmetry. So I will take a pause, and if you have any questions, you can now ask.
Hi.
Hey, yes.
When you say weakly coupled gravity in bulk, do you mean weakly coupling between gravity and matter?
So weakly coupled gravity is the, well, you can do perturbation theory. You have to do perturbation theory, whatever it is. So overall, there is a G Newton, of course, and then you can have any corrections, matter correction, etc. Usually they are also small. Small. You can even have higher curvature, etc. correction. They are all small. You can do a perturbative expansion, But you can see overall G Newton itself is small, so it is reasonable, right? All the other coupling is also small in that.
Okay.
You can check Newton value is very small, right? Of course, if you add other terms like R square, higher curvature, etc., they should be also smaller. Actually, we don't have that much time, but if you have a string theory motivated this correction, they are guaranteed to be small because they are proportional to some kind of a string length correction, which is actually small. That is why we have a geometry. So in short, your answer, yes, couplings are small, all are couplings are small. Okay, So I think we are almost on the verge of finishing this discussion. So this is the statement of symmetry, both sides. Now we have a dynamical aspect, right? Because correlation function both sides should match. Well, should match means we check and they match. That's why variability works. Means it's conjecture. I cannot prove it. When they match, it's match. So let's look at the other half of the statement of the area safety, and that will complete the discussion. So this is the statement about the operator map. So you need to know the so bulk operator and the boundary operator cannot be random. I mean, they have to have a one-to-one correspondence. So that is precisely the statement of operator map. So which is say that CFT operators which lives in the say in the boundary which I denote this xi, let's take the boundary of the flat space, Minkowski space. So I have xi coordinate, spatial coordinate, and time is the function of time, which is one-to-one correspondence with the fields in the bulk. So field in the bulk will have xit, of course, the boundary coordinate, also the fifth coordinate, the extra coordinate, extra radial coordinate, right? Poincare coordinate, you have the extra radial bulk coordinate, that is the r or z. I call the x5. So this is the notation to distinguish that in the bulk there is one extra dimension, called the fifth coordinate, or the fifth means if it is like ADS5, is the extra, let's say d+1 coordinate, which is basically z in the Poincare. So field should depend on this. So there is a one-to-one map, and to understand this map completely, you need to understand. So details of this map also comes from the details of the specific examples, of course. Also, there is some string theory motivation. None of this I will here discuss. We will discuss given the time constraint. But there is a natural couplings. There is a natural one-to-one correspondence, and I will try to motivate why it is natural. So remember, when I say that when you write the partition functions, the generating function in the CFT, so you have LCFT, the integration over PT, etc. So let me write SCFT basically. Plus you have these sources, right? We exponent SCFT minus the sources, this JI and OI. But let's take a sample of OI. It can be some scalar field phi, it can be some vector field, we call it mu, gauge field, which is more common. It can be a 2-index field and so on and so forth, right? Which is a stress tensor, typically the stress tensor. So first of all, you see that it has to be entirely scalar. Action, adding action. So JI will have the same indices. You have to contract. So this gives a natural coupling. And you know that JI is basically a boundary value of the corresponding bulk field. So the bulk point of view, what are the natural things that you can write? So let's write it down. So if you have just, let me write it capital O. I will explain what is the delta means. So if you have a scalar field in the CFT, JI should be a scalar field in the bulk. This is the bulk boundary. So the phi will be the boundary value of a scalar field in the bulk. that should couple with some scalar operator at the of the conformal field. Then if you have J mu, the A mu, let's call this J mu, changing the notation slightly here. If you have a J mu, some current at the boundary, the vector quantity, which should couple some vector quantity, typically the gauge field at the boundary. But again, the A mu will be the boundary value of some gauge field propagating in the ADS spacetime, which is coupling to the current. It is natural because you have to contract the Lorentz index. And what will be the T mu nu? If you have T mu nu, what will be that? You should guess. What are the two index fields that is natural in the gravity side of it? G mu nu, right? H mu nu, graviton, perturbation of the metric, and so on. So the map is scalar field in CFT. This is some scalar field with some mass in the bulk, some x, I, t, and z coordinate. Current, of course, what is current exactly depends on the theory, but as a vector entity in the safety side coupled with M. Then T mu nu coupled with G mu. The thing is that there is a mode to it. It's not the natural coupling. Of course, this is one of the way to identify the coupling, to contract and make a scalar out of it. But the actual thing, the way they are identified is that CFT operators corresponds to some bulk fields. They are identified based on the fact that they have the same transformation properties under SO D, 2 and have say quantum number. So this is the reason. So both sides, the one is isometry and there is a conformal killing vector. They have the same SO D, 2 algebra, and the operator gets mapped on the basis that they transform in the same way in the both sides, and they have the same quantum number. Quantum number means you can think about this way, that for example, if you usually doing quantum field theory, you have a Lorentz invariant, you have a quantum number coming from the Lorentz group, which is the spin, and also there is of course there is a mass also if you have p square, the Casimir from the Poincare group. But in this case, in the quantum field theory, conformal field theory, a good way to represent this kind of a reorganize these fields in terms of not just the Lorentz transformation part, which gives you the speed, but also the corresponding quantum number coming from the dilatation, the scale transformations, which gives you something called a conformal dimension. So together with this conformal dimension, the speed part gives you the quantum number, fix the quantum number of the state in the CFT side. So you have to identify this same field with the same quantum number as that of the bulk field, and then that gives you the operator map. Of course, to do it precisely, you have to know what is exactly the field content of the theory, what is the current. Of course, that you require the explicit theory, but this is sort of the bigger picture. Yes, so I will stop, and if you have a question, you should ask. I see.
I have a question. Yeah. So when we do the path integral on the gravity side, the bulk side, are the values of this bulk field on the boundary fixed?
So the values of the Yes, so that is why, so how to fix these sources. So they are the boundary. So they are the boundary condition imposed on the bulk field. And once you fix this boundary condition, so this is roughly like this. So suppose you have ADS, so there is this bulk field at the boundary. So this is we call the boundary value of the bulk field. Once you fix this, there is a unique extension of this field inside the bulk, basically. Once you fix this boundary condition, and then there is a regularity condition on the center of ADS, that is, it does not blow up at the center of ADS, then the solution of the equation of motion in the gravity side is unique, because it's a second order equation. You have two boundary condition fixed.
Okay, thanks.
So again, this is precisely the way you should derive, you should identify the source and at least go through the scalar field calculation in mind. Now, one more thing, actually, one more comment, actually, before I finish off here, is that what is this delta? Somehow I introduced a notation delta, but and say conformal dimension, but I didn't actually explain what it is. Let me quickly explain it. So in the CFT spectrum, there is certain operator that is very important, and so called the primary operator. And if you get the information of the primary operator, all other families you can generate, so which they are known as descended by taking composition of this primary operator by taking various derivative and etc. So apart, most of all, together with the information of the primary operator, help us to actually speak somehow the spectrum of the CFT. Of course, you need two more data, but I will not go into that. But primary operator, that's why play very important. Give the almost the spectrum of the CFT. If you know the primary operators of the theory, then essentially you can solve the CFT category. So what are these primary operators? So they are defined as the following way, by the following action of it. So D, for simplicity, I said x equal to 0, it's at x equal to 0, the field, the operator, but this can be easily extended for non-trivial x. And they are annihilated by the K mu, which is the special conformal transform. So this defines primary operators, and this delta called the conformal dimension. And why? And there is a very powerful thing in the CFT because of the conformal symmetry. All the 2-point and 3-point functions, the structure of the the structure explicitly is fixed by conformal symmetry. So because of this power of conformal symmetry, you don't have very much freedom about 2-point and 3-point function of the primary operator. They're fixed actually. And this is a good exercise to do if you have this yellow book of this conformal field theory, which is also mentioned in. So you should go through this calculation. For example, a 2-point function of the primary operator, two primary operator, phi 2 and phi x, is actually x fixed, entirely fixed. Delta when 0 otherwise. This can be just argued from the point of view of conformal symmetry and how this primary operator transform under the conformal transformations. And so the 3-point functions is also fixed, basically. 3-point function, but 4-point function also onward, it is not entirely fixed, and that is why they carry more information of the dynamics of the theory. And that is why people try to solve these higher point correlation functions. And this is one of the very interesting program called conformal bootstrap program, which actually does that. If you're interested, you can look it up. also fixed, but not the 4-point function. Now there is a remarkable result. For example, for a scalar field, so you can reproduce this delta, the conformal dimension, of the primary operator using the ADS-CFT side. You reproduce that by doing a gravity calculation in terms of mass of, say, example, scalar field. You can do it for other spinning field also in terms of mass and the ADS radius L using the ADS-CFT. For example, for scalar operator, so delta. So you know that for a scalar conformal operator, for a scalar primary operator with conformal dimension delta is 1-to-1 correspondence with the scalar field in the bulk with some mass m, and this delta is then related to that m and the ADS radius in the following. This is one of the remarkable results from the ADS-CFT. I have no time to go through details, but again, you can look at my note for the detailed calculation. So you can reproduce this data of the CFT spectrum. So this is one of the data is important to know about the CFT spectrum. For example, the conformal dimension. You can actually calculate it, and ADS-CFT gives you a dictionary what exactly this delta corresponds to in the gravities. And every other data in the CFT spectrum can be extracted out by doing the equivalent calculation in the gravity. And that is how the ADS-CFT works. All the correlation functions, all the data can be extracted from this gravity side calculations whenever ADS-CFT is applicable. Okay, so I think I should summarize our ADS-CFT discussion. Actually, one thing I still like to do in the next lecture probably, because little bit talk about ADS black hole, because some of you are doing the course of the black hole and etc., but not so much, but I will do it in the next class. But let me give you a diagram, sort of a summary diagram of what we have done. So we have our ADS, and this is the ADS 5 in pictorially in Poincare coordinate, and there is a strongly coupled field theory. It's living at the boundary. And this is the ADS-CFT dictionary that we are discussing. So the symmetry of the CFT, global symmetry at the CFT should match with the isometry of the ADS. And then there is this operator map that I have explicitly, that we discussed now. Every operator has a 1-to-1 corresponding with the bulk field. Conformal dimension can be generated using this, this relation. The coupling constant in the gravity and the CFT also related. So the first 3 line here probably you may find it non-trivial because we haven't discussed. This comes from the example of the original example, the super Young-Mills theory, which is dual to this ADS 5 cross S5 geometry, type 2B string theory in ADS 5 cross S5. That motivate these two things. You can actually take it for granted because we don't have time to actually discuss that. Maybe I will give you the exact precise notion next class. And of course, this is the most important thing, that's partition function of the CFT, generating functional both sides should match. So you can reproduce all the correlation functions in 1-to-1. So then what is the story? Because we don't know exactly the proof, we know it works in some aspect. So we compute various observables both sides and try to check that whether ADS-CFT work or not. And after we check this, that at least some of the observables are matching both sides, then we can apply the techniques in the gravity side to compute new quantities, which is very complicated in the field theory side, and try to get an answer. This is how we use ADS-CFT nowadays from the bottom up. So I will talk more about it, but let me stop here, and if you have any questions, you can ask it.